Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about Marvel Zombies versus Molecule Man, Galacta, Blue Marvel, and just all sorts of stuff. But before we get into that, smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. That helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, but also we love to hear from you guys. We've got an awesome community here, and it's all thanks to you. So thank you so much for being here. So, all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to today's story takes place on the Dyson sphere, where countless alternate Earths all suddenly found themselves dismantled and rebuilt into one huge world. Because these alternate Earths were now bordering each other, things were hitting the fan. And one of many problems is that while the Marvel zombies had been stuck in their own dimension and had finally ran out of food, now they had access to 550 million alternate Earths full of people to eat and infect. Which brings us to the main plot of this game session. Many people will be familiar with the recent Spider-Verse stuff, where we met a character named Spider-Man Noir who hails from a world where it is still the pulp era of yesteryear. Indeed, some Earths on the Dyson sphere are homes to cyberpunks from a near future, while other worlds feature gunslingers from the Old West, and still others are home to pirates from the Age of Sail. For each Earth, the current year they were taken from by Omicron varies. And we had a big discussion about our take on Earth 616. And of all the different Marvel continuities from comics to animation to video games, and many of them call themselves Earth 616. So, what exactly did we want to call by that name? We agreed that we wanted it to feel as Marvel as possible. And on some level, quite a few in our circle of friends agreed that modern Marvel just feels kind of off, not as Marvel as it used to. So, since we could pick any year, any era, we decided we wanted something close to the works of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, feeling that you really can't go wrong with the classics. So, on our Earth 616, the Secret Wars had not quite happened yet. Spider Man has yet to get the black costume. The Hulk hasn't turned into the gray skinned Mixter Fix It yet. The classic feel is in play. It's a world that a lot of us think feels like the Marvel universe that we grew up with. So, that said, Brad Williams played the Earth 616 version of Molecule Man. And at this point in his life, he's trying to be a good person. But the creation of the Dyson sphere and the threat that the Marvel zombies represent is just too massive for him to ignore. So Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, travels to the Marvel Zombies Earth, and as soon as he arrives there, he finds himself confronted by a zombie version of the Incredible Hulk. The Hulk leaps at him, but Reese is faster on the draw. He uses his disintegration powers on the Hulk, removing the intrinsic fields which bind his atoms together. And slowly but surely, the zombie Hulk boils away into nothingness. Elsewhere, we meet Galacta, the daughter of Galactus. She sees a broken version of the Vision trying to find living prey that he can feed to his zombie wife, Wanda, not because he hates them, but because he loves her. As such, Galacta seeks out Dagger, aka Tandy Bowen, and Gally or Galacta transforms Tandy into Galacta's very first herald. Tandy takes up the name Holy Avenger, which for anyone listening who's not a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, in D&D, A +5 Holy Avenger is arguably the best sword in the game. So to us gamers, it felt like the natural thing to call someone who used to be known as Dagger. Anyways, while Tandy becomes a herald of Galacta, another hero named Blue Marvel flies along the edge of the Marvel Zombies world using his powers to create an energy barrier designed to contain the zombies. Galacta wants to send Tandy into the Marvel Zombies world to try to cure the zombies of what ails them, while Blue Marvel wanted to cut that section of the Dyson Sphere out and then fly the whole thing into the sun, like cutting out the bad spot on an apple. Molecule Man is in that section killing zombies, and he doesn't want to be thrown into the sun, obviously. So the players had a huge discussion out of game about how they wanted to proceed. Galacta wants to save the zombies, and if they can't be reverted to life, then she wants to eat them and their world. But the others worry she herself could become a zombie. We double checked, and there are some official depictions of Galactus who are a zombie. So it seems possible that it could happen to his daughter as well. Anyway, everyone has a very long discussion out of game, and in the end, they decide to kill the zombies themselves and then try to purge that section of the Dyson sphere of the zombie virus. So the heroes wade into the fray, and the reason I let the players play such powerful characters was so they could try to survive a Marvel Zombies level situation. So as they attempt this, the King Arthur of Earth 616 lends a hand. And going all the way back to 1980 to the Marvel UK version of the Incredible Hulk comic book, Volume 1, issue number 59, King Arthur had woken up in the modern day. And since then, he made several appearances in Marvel Comics, often teaming up with Captain Britain and the various members of the Marvel team who named themselves after Arthur's famous sword, Excalibur. And like we mentioned on the podcast not so awful long ago, on Earth 616, there's also a being known as Necromon, who is extremely similar to DC's Necron. And in some of the Excalibur comics, they also feature a villain named Necrom with an M, who hails from Earth 148. Interestingly enough, he trained Merlin, and in one of his many adventures, he managed to obtain the anti Phoenix Force. And even before that, he was the Sorcerer Supreme on that world for his era. So Necrom is a ridiculously powerful opponent. Suffice it to say, we rolled initiative, we fought it out, and the heroes actually lost. Recently, I asked listeners if they wanted to know who rolled what on what turn, and break down the fights. And the overwhelming majority said no. So I'll leave that out. But it boiled down to these really massively powerful characters slugging it out just until the others ran out of hit points. Many, many times on our podcast, we've talked about the King Arthur from Earth K and how he did things like obtain the Infinity Gauntlet, or how at one point he absorbed the power of the Source, and how he subbed his Omni power for the Split power, which allowed there to be a ton of different Earthers in more than one place at a time. And on Earth K, that sort of became what he was known for in a way. And not only could one Arthur split into many Arthurs, but all of those Arthurs in a time of great need could sort of merge and form one big Infinity Gauntlet level Arthur again, which honestly was probably a concept that's been rattling around in my head ever since I was a little kid watching shows like Voltron. Anyways, on very rare occasions, we established that there would be two Arthurs from two alternate Earths, and they could merge as well. Kind of like how in the Dragon Ball franchise, Goku and Vegeta can merge and form one being who is more powerful than either is by themselves. So, with all the crazy stuff happening on the Dyson sphere right now and the massive threat that Omnicron represents, every Arthur from 550 million Earths all merge. We went back and forth on what to call him, but in the end, we settled on Artorias. And honestly, I think it's because it kind of reminded us of the name Optimus. Anyways, so Artorias itself is a historical name often brought up when people study the etymology of the name Arthur. The name is a fusion of Celtic and Latin, which, if you're familiar with our version of the character, seems very on brand. Anyways, so Artorias has all the powers of every version of Arthur from all of these Earths. So if one of them could say Shazam and have the powers of someone like Captain Marvel or Black Adam, then Artorias has those powers too. If one of them was his world's sorcerer supreme, then Artorias can do that. If one of them had a Green Lantern ring or was bitten by a radioactive spider, Artorias has those bases covered as well. And on top of all of that, every time two guys merge, their attributes go up 1 point, as per the rules on how the split power works. So if there was a super Necron, now there is a super Arthur, and he subs Omnipower for a truly insane level attack. He uses Magic Blast to target Omnicron's spirit, as well as Mind Blast to target Omnicron's mind, taking both so far into the negatives that Omnicron seems to have been destroyed. Which brings us to the epilogue of this game session. Now that Artorias has cosmic levels of awareness, in the detect power, he realizes that he is not alone. As it turns out, in the negative multiverse, there was a heroic counterpart to Omnicron who merged all of the negative worlds into a second Dyson sphere that he had hoped would be able to be used to stop his evil counterpart. So on Earth -1, that Batman wears red instead of blue. That Aquaman has an eye patch, and those villains have a headquarters called the Hall of Evil. Likewise, on Earth -2, there lives evil versions of the Justice Society. Earth -616 has an evil Spider-Man, etc. And all of those evil twins of Arthur had also merged, forming an evil counterpart to Artorias. So the evil Artorias attacks the good Artorias, and they both do insane levels of damage. It's the grand finale to 40 years of us playing this campaign, and it is to be continued. We'll pick up where we left off here in the next game session. And if I'm right, that should drop around New Year's Eve. So while I have to wait a week to play it on my end, you guys should hopefully be hearing that video tomorrow. Hopefully, you got a kick out of this one. If so, as always, we would love it if you took a quick moment of your time to smash like, make sure you're subscribed, and leave us a comment. And from all of us here at the longest running superhero role playing game on earth, we hope you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure. Bye.